that's a very interesting one. Ronnie and I recently were helping a client build a retreat. We're running an offsite retreat, and the CEO, who's located in another time zone, would send emails to the entire team. And because of the flip in time zone, very often what would happen is the emails would and the text would come in at all hours of the day and night, right? Probably not when that particular leader was sleeping. But what's the message that that actually sends to your staff member when you've got it? The answer is, I'm kind of expecting an answer right now. Or, gee, if it's not that, maybe the message that you're modeling is well, I'm working this late at night or this early in the morning. Surely you should be doing so too, right? And no matter what we say, something, listen, you've got kids, make sure that you're home at the end of the day, right? You could say that, but all of a sudden, if they're getting emails nonstop, it becomes very, very difficult for them to say, well, the boss is saying this, but on the other hand, so we've got some ability with technology to control things. We can, for example, as leaders, we can actually set an email to pause and be delivered the next morning if this is something that's important, right? Excuse me. We can say, do we really need to send the text? Can we delay the text? There's some technology that can help with that as well, right? I think the whole question of modeling is very, very important. Why is it that so often we see leaders who are, who seem to be able to get to the gym, who seem to be able to read all the latest business and strategy books, etc., who seem to, do all these things, I should say. These are good models, but sometimes for ourselves, we say, well, how do they do that? How do they get that balance, right? Part of the question, when somebody's modeling good things, but for whatever reason you're not able to do it, you can ask the question and have the conversation rather than just, be saying, well, I just can't sort of figure this one particular out. For some of our coaching clients, this issue comes up as well. I've got these particular challenges. How do I square, for example, some of the responsibilities we have, as a leader with some of my other responsibilities and get that, integration, if you will, between the two, right? And so sometimes coaching can help too, right? As part of a bigger conversation. Sorry, can I just add one other thing, Carol and Rania? I think there's also a generational change that's happening as well in terms of different expectations. There's some people call it, and leaders who sort of grew up in the 60s and 70s, like this a long, long time ago. So let me just be kind and say the 1980s as well, where the number of hours that you're spending physically at your desk is the only barometer of, gee, this person is working, right? And if you look at the millennials, younger people, for example, many of them don't mind being connected on the phone and taking care of quick things. But gee, the idea of actually being in the office, doing the work physically there is something, particularly since we're in a post-COVID age, is very, very different, right? So the question of saying, hey, listen, what is the culture that you're putting in place in your organization that says this is kind of acceptable? These are things we do, and these are the things we kind of don't do. And understanding some of the generational differences in terms of this machismo, let's work 23 and a half hours a day, because after all, we need half an hour to sleep, as opposed to, let's realize that if we have balanced staff, and for us as leaders, if we live a more balanced life, perhaps we'll be a little bit better performing. And I will expand on that by saying, think about those personal balance sheet dimensions. Really, really, if somebody's more connected in the community, excuse me, will that not help with, if they're doing business development, they build greater relationships? If they're spending time, for example, on intellectual pursuits, does that not kind of help them by bringing new ideas into the job? Excuse me, if somebody, for example, is doing physical things, does that not also help them be less stressed and therefore perhaps better performance? It's not a question of saying these are bad things, right? It's a question of saying, how does it fit together? And maybe there is some benefit. There is, okay, in making sure that we have workplaces that acknowledge, the importance of balance.